We're trying again.
Yeah, we're having some technical issues here. Google is and Zoom are not playing well together, so the fun continues. But I believe we're live. Let me refresh the page before we dive into stuff and make sure that we are, in fact. Oh, Bradley, you've got to update the redirect, right?
Yeah, I'm doing that now.
Okay.
What a clusterfuck.
Well, if everyone is watching or able to watch, welcome to episode 438 of Hump Day Hangouts. Today is the 5th of April, 2023. We have got a ton of questions today, so we are going to get going on those. We're going to keep things short as we can, but wanted to say hi to the guys. Got a couple quick announcements, then we're going to jump in and answer your questions. So, Chris, how you doing today?
I don't know. I'm kind of freezing my ass off here. Like, it was a really warm March, but all of a sudden the weather turned on me, and I don't know, like, it's fucking cold. Let's be a bit short.
All right. Well, it's warm here and getting ready to warm up. Bradley, I think you said it was 80 for you yesterday. I think I'm in upstate New York. We're going to get 80 next week, I think, or later this weekend.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Chris, is cold because all the heat's over here. It's 87 degrees right now in Virginia.
Yeah, man, Miami, man.
Cool. Well, Bradley, how you doing today besides Zoom and Google fucking with you?
I'm all right, man. Just frustrated. I was just mentioning to you guys that it's like two-factor authentication has just exploded all of a sudden, and now everything is requiring 2FA, and it drives me up a wall because I waste so much time throughout the day just authenticating logins. Like, it is just so inefficient, and it's just irritating as hell. And that's what just got us caught up here on Zoom, was trying to get started. Like, now when you initiate a live stream to YouTube from Zoom, it's now causing two-factor authentication. And apparently the first time it didn't take. So I had to close everything down, shut everything down, and then restart everything and try it again. And finally it took the second time, but it's just super frustrating because I just think about how much time I waste throughout the day for 2FA. It's just fucking ridiculous. Anyway.
Yeah, like I was actually contemplating on getting one of those keys. But at the same time, in my opinion, my gut tells me this makes you very, very traceable. So I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, if it could speed it up. Anyways, well, let's get off the authentication train. We got a couple quick announcements, like I said, for people. Wanted to remind people too, Pofu Live tickets are going to be going on sale in May. So that is going to be taking place live in Boston, in person, last weekend of September. So the actual dates, if I had my calendar in front of me, that would be September the 29th and 30th. So previous years, we've done things kind of a Saturday, Sunday. This year, we're going to do things a little bit more of a Friday, Saturday. But live Boston last weekend of September. So keep that penciled in. And then as soon as ticket sales go live, we will, of course, let you know. Also, let's see, we've had a lot going on in the mastermind. We've talked about the transition. We got a new platform up for mastermind members so that everything's in one place. We got the community, we got the training, we got a ton of stuff going on in there. Been really happy with that. So we've already covered that. Let's see, we've got more training going in for the mastermind. I think, Bradley, you're working on we're going to have the SOPs transferred and updated, I believe, in the coming month or two, right?
Yeah, we're going to start moving that stuff over now that all the main training content has been moved. We're going to start moving converting the SOPs from Flowster into Circle for those people that $28 a month is too rich for their blood to pay for Flowster.
Or if they want to use something else, right? They can copy it out and, use that somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I know the answer to this, but for somebody watching who doesn't know, what are the SOPs or what do they cover?
Most of the repetitive tasks and the processes that I use in my agency. I've created SOPs for a lot of that and shared it with the mastermind. And so they're very, very detailed, but they're all in Flowster right now, which is the process app, right? The process app. So there's been some complaining in our mastermind about having to pay for another app to access some of the training. So we're going to also put it in Circle, which is in just training format. The benefit of having it in SOP format is you can run workflows from a template and assign a workflow to a virtual assistant or an employee or whatever, and they can go through and execute the tasks within the workflow, and it doesn't change the template, right? So the template's going to remain intact. You can run multiple workflows from a template, assign workflows to different team members. I like to assign a workflow to a location. If it's a Google Business Profile optimization, for example, we assign a workflow with and then put the location name in it, and then tag the the virtual assistant that I assign it to. I put their name in it, and now they've got a dedicated workflow specific to that particular project, and they work through it. And at any time that I make any changes to the template, I can push a button and it automatically updates all the workflows that were run from that template. So it's a super efficient way to manage your team, to train and manage your team on executing tasks. So, that's why I said the $28 a month that you pay to have access to Flowster, to me, is peanuts for the amount of value that you receive from having access to SOPs that you can assign workflows to team members for. But all that to say, there's still some whining about it. So we're going to move it into Flowster, or convert it from SOP format all into training format in Circle, so that people can go through just in training format if that's what they want to do. So we're going to start on that within the next couple of days, and we'll start with the Google Business Profile SOP and then just kind of work our way through it from there.
Nice. For anyone that wants to join or find out more, you can go to mastermind.semanticmastery.com. Join there if that sounds good to you. Of course, we got the SOPs. We got a hell of a lot more than that, but I won't bore you. Go check it out, mastermind.semanticmastery.com. All right, guys. Anything else before we jump into the questions?
I don't think so. We got so much stuff to get through. Let's just do it.
Do it.
All right.
Let me grab the screen. Although it's even more boring now because it's just a Google sheet. But whatever. All right, we'll start with, God, we got a lot of questions here. So, Jesus. All right, start right at the top. One at a time, man. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? All right, so the first one is from Fred. He says, how do you deal with clients wanting to pause every few months for SEO? I offer monthly campaigns for clients, but they are month to month with cancellation anytime with 1 month notice in advance. However, I am noticing some clients are asking constantly every 2 to 3 months to pause for the month, which is putting me behind SEO work and slowing down the results for their campaign. How would you deal with this? And is there a better way you would suggest to what I have in place? Yeah, I deal with that similarly with tree service contractors every year, because tree service industry in most of the locations that I manage clients or lead gen assets it's seasonal, fairly seasonal. There's still a little bit of tree work that happens during the winter, but not much. So it's usually it's a pretty seasonal business that, it's heaviest in the summer, but it starts to ramp up in the spring and it slows down in the fall, right? So it's really only in the winter that it's really slow. And so I get a lot of tree service contractors, about 60% of them every freaking year. I land a bunch of new clients in the springtime, which is what April 1st is the date that I always start ramping up prospecting for my tree service agency, my tree service SEO agency. And so we're in that process right now. I'm starting to ramp up prospecting for my agency for the busy season. And what happens is we do SEO work for them until about November. And then usually in November, we start getting requests from tree service contractors to pause their SEO subscription or services until spring. And I hear that all the time. Like, hey, I'm just going to pause over the winter months. I'll be back in the spring. But what happens is oftentimes in the spring, they are still ranking. So I've learned over the years to take certain steps when doing SEO work now for tree service contractors that keeps a lot more of the control in my hands. So for example, I use my directory site as a primary tier 1 asset and things like that, so I can control the link flow. So I do a lot of link building to the directory page and to other assets and things like that. And if they want to cancel or pause, then, there's things that can kind of, I can reclaim some of the work that I've done in a way that, encourages them to come back. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes they still will remain ranking months later, so they don't come back in the spring. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do come back, and typically it's when they start to slip because, so sometimes that's within a few months, but sometimes it'll be later on that following year. I'll get a call or an email or a text or something and saying like, hey, man, I'm ready to start SEO services again. So what do I do at that point? Well, my pricing has gone up. Why? Because I've got more clients now since the last time that you were a subscriber. And so the demand is higher. Supply and demand. There's more demand, less supply. Therefore, my prices have gone up. That will stop those people from canceling every so often very quickly, right? Point that I'm trying to make here is if you got a client, you say you have a couple of clients or a few clients that are canceling every few months for a month, tell them that's unacceptable. Like, number one, it's a, you can do it on a case-by-case basis. If there's a valid reason that somebody needs to cancel for a month or two, then, you can always extend that to them, right? Say, yeah, of course, no problem. Like hardships, for example, things like that. That's not a problem. But if you've got somebody that just arbitrarily wants to pause for a month here and a month there and does that every few months, like you're mentioning in your question, then that is a pattern, right? That's a behavior pattern that is going to continue. It's going to persist. So therefore, you have to put some sort of process in place to prevent that from happening. So that's why I would say to them, okay, listen, you can pause it, but because of right now things are growing for my agency and I'm going to have to raise my prices. So when you come back, your price is likely going to be increased by 10% on a monthly retainer or 20% or whatever it is. That will very quickly encourage them to stop this start and stop shit. Or you could just flat out say like, hey, listen, I give everybody the opportunity if they need to pause for a month or two. I'll give everybody one opportunity, right? But after that, if you do it repeatedly, then I'm sorry, we're just going to have to end our engagement with each other because it's not an efficient way for me to run SEO campaigns, right? So there's a number of ways you can address it, but the point that I'm trying to make is those are pain in the ass types of clients, and the problem is you set a precedence when you allow something like that to happen. You have to treat your time like an attorney does, right? It's, I understand, like I've got a salesperson that's we recently hired. He's doing great. And he wants to be really helpful with, so, he'll jump on a call with people and basically give out free consultation. And I have to kind of rein him in sometimes. And he's new. He's just started handling calls on his own. So it's fine. What I'm saying is we all have to, it's easy for, and I talked about this, I think last week, what we call in the military, they call it mission creep. In our industry, we'd call it scope creep, right? If you give clients a little bit of wiggle room, they oftentimes take a lot, right? You give them an inch, they take a mile. And it's because it's again, scope creep. You start to allow things that weren't clearly defined in the initial scope of work to start kind of creeping in to the products or services that the service that you're providing. And so think about it like this, guys. What am I saying here? I'm saying, like, you set a precedence and you train your clients in what is acceptable from them, for what you think is what you're telling them is acceptable. Okay. So like if you answer a phone, after business hours, or you reply to an email after business hours or over the weekend or something. Now, if it's an emergency, guys, you can always make exceptions. That's fine. But if you start replying to emails after business hours or over the weekends, what do? You're setting a precedent to your client that they can reach you at any given time. So you're on call. Is that the type of business you want to run? I mean, are you getting, emergency call out pay for answering after hours emails or phone calls? If you're not, then why are you doing it? You see what I'm saying? Like, you got to treat your time like an attorney does. You can't ask an attorney a question without getting a 15-minute bill, right? They'll bill you in 15-minute increments, and it's often a lot. You know what I mean? So you got to kind of consider your time that way. Again, you can always make exceptions if it's warranted, but you have to think about, like, not allowing your clients to if you give them too much wiggle room, they will take advantage of it and exploit it. And next thing you know, you're doing a hell of a lot more work than you ever agreed to initially, and they're not being charged anymore. And so the same thing goes with something like this, starting and stopping campaigns. Just tell them flat out, like, that is not an efficient way to run an SEO. You're making my job harder, and I just don't want to work like that. So if you have a valid reason for pausing, then fine, I'll give you a chance to pause for 2 months or whatever. That's fine. But after that, if they want to pause a second time, then you say, nope, I'm sorry. Or, yeah, that's fine. But when you come back, it's going to be 10% more per month, or 15% or 20% or whatever it is. You understand? Again, guys, you have to start. I know when you're hungry, when you're trying to make a dollar any which way, that you're willing to bend over backwards to get that dollar. But the problem is you set a precedence that people will take advantage of going forward. So you have to start being a little bit more disciplined in, setting ground rules up front. And I think that's really important. So anyway, next one, Darren. What's up, Darren? He says, looking to diversify my revenue streams and wondering what some industries or businesses I could get into where I could use SEO and semantic mastery methods that is non-digital, example, offline services where I could get someone else to fulfill the work and take a commission or something. Not sure where to start. So I think what you're talking about, Darren, is using like SEO to start and build a offline business, like a real local traditional business. We've had a number of people come through the mastermind that have done stuff similar to that. Adam, my partner Adam's talked about doing that. Adam, do you want to comment on that a little bit? If you're still here?
Yeah, one sec. Sorry, just had the other window open. Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways you can do this. There's two things I've looked at just to give some specific examples. So one of those was maid service and applying this, right? It's local, organic traffic is awesome. And then you have to deal, of course, with the business side of the maid service. Not that I don't want to clean, I'm not looking to do that, but you could hire contractors and then start contracting that work out. So I looked at a couple different ways to do that. For various reasons, decided not to do that. Been, talking to Bradley, he's mentioned the land flipping over the last, Bradley, you did it in like 2019. So I think it's
2019 to the beginning of 2021. So just about 2 years.
Yeah. So looking at that, and I'm kind of doing the first steps of that myself. And definitely the SEO plays, a part of that. Definitely want to use organic traffic and maximizing where I can get both buyers and sellers from. I think that's a fantastic way to do it. And then I hadn't told Bradley and Chris this yet, but I've got a call with a guy Thursday, so tomorrow, who's kind of looking to do the same thing. And he kind of expressed interest because he knows what I do and then what Semantic Mastery does. And when I say me, I meant email marketing. And he's looking to go in and partner with local businesses who then he can either become a part owner or a minority partner. So he's not working the business, but he's either providing marketing services through his own agency and then becomes kind of like a silent partner. So he's looking at different ways to do that. And I think that's a fantastic idea. So I wanted to talk to him about if he's kind of fleshed it out and thought about how to do this, because if that's the case, I was like, well, this could be interesting. Something else either I could do, we could do. I think anybody can do it. But yeah, I think learning those skills, building an offline business and combining your digital skills puts you way ahead of this. I want to say that there's a maid business that was started by somebody who was into digital stuff. And they started the software, I think, behind it, or maybe it's a franchise service, but I think it's called Maidzen. I'm not sure. I may be wrong on that. But I met the guy or listened to the guy give a talk who started that. And it was really interesting because he's just like, if you have a website that works and has a good calendar system and you reply or have answering service for phone calls and reply to support emails, you're going to be so far above the rest of everybody else, and then you add on SEO on top of that, you have maybe a good onboarding system and you have follow-up and, all that. You're just going to blow people out of the water so long as you're, also providing a really good service. Of course, you can't leave that side of it alone. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on that.
Well, thank you, Adam. And I agree. There's, we've had people come through the mastermind that have done something similar where they've either started an offline business because of their SEO chops, their skill set, and grown it that way, or they have taken an equity position in other companies, other local businesses, and helped them to get more exposure and grow the business through marketing and automation and such. So there's that way. And then really interestingly, I had an onboarding call with one of our newer members this week who's in e-com, which I thought was really crazy because we don't do anything in e-com, and he's fully aware of that. He joined the mastermind anyways, and we had a 30-minute call earlier this week, and it was a great call. This dude is super sharp, and he was talking about doing something similar as, like, it's funny, but it's like I likened it to Bar Rescue with John Taffer. If you've ever watched that show, John Taffer goes to struggling bars, which is they're a dime a dozen, by the way, and he helps turn them around, right? He's like a turnaround agent, you know what I mean? And so the guy I was talking to earlier this week, one of our new mastermind members, is really in the Amazon FBA stuff and Amazon stores, Amazon selling, whatever. And so, and he's really good at, so he, you know, I was talking about, man, you could do the same thing, is go find struggling or businesses that have kind of plateaued in Amazon sellers, and then, you know, offer to take an equity position or partner with them to help, start increasing sales volumes, like because he's really good at SEO, at the Amazon SEO side of things. So those are all kind of things that you can do kind of to combine SEO and offline. Lastly, just to kind of continue on, or to Adam's point about land flipping, that is precisely why I started the land flipping business. Well, I did it for a very specific reason, but I decided that I was going to use my marketing skills, because all the real estate flipping or wholesaling, the quick turn real estate business it's marketing. It's not really real estate investment. Unless you're buying and holding, it's not real estate investment. It's marketing. It's a marketing business. You understand? That's all real estate flipping is a marketing business. And so I started the land flipping business specifically for marketing, because I knew, hey, if I can apply my marketing skill set to the land flipping business, then I ought to do really well. And I did. And I just did it as a side hustle for about 2 years. And it was a great business, because it took me about 6 months of doing almost everything myself to kind of learn the business. But then I outsourced. I started building SOPs like I do in the mastermind now for SEO stuff. But I started building SOPs for the land flipping thing, and I built a small team. And so I was really, when I stopped flipping land, because I had about a year of internal dilemma where I was debating about getting out of the SEO business, like the coaching and training business and everything else, to go 100% in the real estate, because the real estate business, the land flipping business, was so freaking lucrative. And it didn't take a lot of my time after I built the team and developed the SOPs. I was literally only spending about maybe 5 to 8 hours a week. And I was making every single month for the entire time that I flipped land, I would make a minimum of 4 figures in profit, but at least half of the months that I did it, I would make 5 figures or more. I never cracked 20 grand in a month, but there were many, many months where I was, 12K, 15K, 16, 17K, but I never cracked 20,000 in a month. But on 5 to 8 hours a week, I had like minimum, my average was probably about $8,000 a month on 5 to 8 hours a week. And so it was fabulous. It was a great business. But, and again, it was like my 5 to 8 hours was because I still handled communicating. I handled all the selling part of the properties. The acquisition part was fairly easy. But the selling part was where it took a lot of my time. I did not outsource the selling part. So that's where most of my time was spent, is in the sales part and in actually doing real estate closings. And so why I'm bringing that up is because that, again, is another type of a business that you can get into. And initially you're going to have to invest some time so that you understand the business, but it's one of those businesses that very quickly you can work yourself out of, if that makes sense. So anyway, great question. Great question. We're going to grab the screen and get back to before we run out of time. And I see in the comment box, keyword management saying he was interested in learning about land flipping as well. Hey man, you're in the mastermind. So, we could talk about that in the mastermind somewhat. I know not everybody in there would be interested in that, but I did do a small group when I was flipping land. I called it land mastery, of course. And we did land mastery. It was a small group. I think there was 8 of us in the group I did like small group coaching on land mastery on my processes and my methods. So anyway, that's something that if you're interested in, let us know. There might be some way that we can work something out with you on that. It's a great business. It really is. The only reason I got out of it, guys, was because I had this internal struggle literally for a year where I debated, and it was awful. I kept thinking, I'm just going to get out of the SEO business and only work on SEO for my land flipping business because it was so lucrative. but I felt obligated to my partners and to our members at Semantic Mastery. So it was weighing on me. It was really it was a struggle for months. And then finally I said, I just got to kill that business and go 100% back into SEO. It's the only way I could do it. So I quit flipping land specifically so I could go back and devote 100% of my attention to SEO. So anyway, I would love to get back into the land flipping business, but I just don't have the bandwidth for it right now. While he's up next, he says, hey guys, thanks for sharing the knowledge with us. I just started a project for a car rental company and I was wondering if I should put the location pages on the subdomain. I like putting neighborhood pages on a subdomain, but I like the primary location pages, like the main city pages that I'm trying to rank, the ones that have search volume. I like to put those on the root domain personally. That's my preferred method right now. And in the geo pages that you create that have no search volume, those work really well as supporting pages on a subdomain. And the reason why is because you can do a lot of aggressive link building and stuff to those that you wouldn't want to do to your money site. And it kind of builds location or geographic relevance up to the pages that they're linking to. There's a lot of things you can do with them. So my preferred method is to put subdomain neighborhood pages or the kind of smaller areas that don't really have any search volume. And that's just a way to gauge it. It doesn't have to be based on search volume, but that's just a way to gauge it. Talked about this in the mastermind last week. There's kind of a quick hack. It's not quick, but it's a way to really identify within a market queries that you should be putting time into. So go grab a domain, right? It can be any kind of domain. It doesn't really matter. Brand new, whatever. Put WordPress on it. Put, the keyword of the primary. In my case, I just say tree service, right? Tree service, tree services, something like that. Tree removal service or something like that on the title as the H1, the SEO title, and just one page WordPress site. Put a few paragraphs of relevant content. It doesn't have to be super optimized or anything else. It's not about it. All I'm saying is buy a domain, install WordPress, put in the SEO title, the primary keyword that your product or service that you're promoting is, and then a few paragraphs and a couple of images or a YouTube video. Again, doesn't even have to be your own YouTube video, just something that's relevant onto a page, a single page WordPress installation, and then submit it to Search Console and see what kind of impressions come back, right? You can start to look at the search query data in Search Console. So you can just slap up a site with a couple of, just random pages on there and put it into Search Console on a particular geographic area and just let it sit for a few weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. And just in Search Console, and you allow it to start accruing some data. And then you can actually extract the data from there. And now you've got real Search Console data, like real search data that you can use to determine what pages that you want to put time into, if that makes sense. There's a little bit more to it than that. I covered that in the mastermind, but it's a great strategy because Search Console data is real Google user data, if that makes sense. It's way better than just basing on search volume, in my opinion. Search volume is a good starting point, but what I'm saying is if using Search Console data is always, in my opinion, the best way for this. It does require some patience because you got to set something up and then just let it sit and let it marinate or season for a while, right? And let it gain some traction by Google, and that's it. But then from there, you can go in and start to identify, what people are actually searching for in that area. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's not about ranking that site, guys. It doesn't matter if it's in position 200. It'll show impression data and the search queries that produced the impression. Right. So that's all that matters. It doesn't matter about ranking the page or the site at all. It's not about that. It's about using a domain in Search Console for discovery. You understand? Anyway, also, am I doing a blogs and I start rank for the first and second pages for some keywords? Now the question is, do I point all the long tail keyword content to the pillar page so I can rank for it? For that hard keyword, but I am still on the third page. What I should do more to push that pillar page to the first, maybe create some Web 2.0 blogs and point it to And what anchors should I use? Okay. Yeah. I mean, all that, remember guys, strengthen the entity. So branded web 2.0 assets, interlinked, and name, address, phone number included, all of that, guys, is about expanding the entity footprint, right? Adding nodes to the knowledge graph for the local entity. We talk about semantic mastery. We've been talking about that for years. You understand? So web 2.0 branded web 2's asset, and interlinked, name, address, phone number, all of that, that will help. What kind of anchor text to use? Go with brand anchors almost exclusively. I'm telling you guys, that is hands down the best type of anchors to use. You can do keyword stuff at tier 2. So you can push keyword relevance through branded anchors at tier 1 branded anchors. Does that make sense? So now that doesn't mean you can't use the occasional keyword anchor at tier 1. You certainly can, but start to pillow. That's an old Alex Becker term, but you pillow the site with, he used to use a lot of generic anchor text or miscellaneous anchor text. But I would always recommend pillowing your site with branded anchors now. I don't build generic anchors at all, period, or miscellaneous anchors, period. I think it's dumb, because anchor text should be descriptive of what it is linking to. Full stop. And and by the way, naturally you're going to accrue miscellaneous anchors. So click here, learn more, this site, citations and things like that. Oftentimes they'll say website, that's the anchor text. So you're going to naturally accrue, generic or miscellaneous anchor text anyway. So when it comes to what kind of anchors to build directly to your money site, go with brand mainly, and you can sprinkle the occasional keyword anchor in there. Okay, but I would keep it mainly brand anchors. And then you can do more kind of aggressive link building out at tier 2 to the branded tier 1 assets if you want, where you can start to push some keyword relevance in that way as well. Okay. Also, the last thing that I would recommend is remember CTR engagement or manipulation. You can kind of manipulate doing some CTR stuff. It doesn't have to be apps. You can buy Google Ads traffic, right? Use the Google Display Network. Set your audience segment, your targeting to where you're targeting an audience that is likely interested in the topic that you're promoting. And then if it's for local, you can also set geographic targeting. So now the only people that are going to click on the ad or even going to see the ad, the only people that are going to see the ad are people that Google has identified are likely interested in the product or service, the topic that you're promoting, and are within a specific geographic area. So if you're trying to rank something locally, think about that. You're buying real Google user clicks within a targeted audience, within a targeted geographic area. So doing that engagement, I mean, you can use CTR apps, that's fine. I'm just saying a heavier weighted click is a click from a real Google user that is in a known audience, a known segment, right? And you can create your own segments. They're called custom segments. So if Google doesn't already have a predefined audience that you can use, or predefined segment, that you can define your own. Does that make sense? So anyway, that was a good question as well. Bryce says, when linking to the money page from our ID pages, did I miss something? Maybe I didn't. Maybe it was just a long question. Yeah, that was it. Sorry. Okay. So Bryce says, when linking to money pages from our ID pages, can we use exact match anchor text if we also use a URL anchor or a brand anchor to the same link? It doesn't make sense. I know that some of our older ID templates have multiple, will link to the same URL multiple times in that page. That doesn't make sense anymore. Like it really doesn't make any sense. Link to one link one time. I mean, you can link to it more than once on the same page, but just go with the brand anchor. Seriously, I'm telling you, especially from the ID page, guys, the ID page is supposed to be a unique resource identifier to validate entity information, right? So in my opinion, linking to the money site, I would link with a brand anchor. Now, if you're linking to multiple pages within the money site, then I would link, then yeah, you can link with like, what is the page title? You can do that, or you can do a combination, what I call compound anchor, which is brand plus keyword. So brand plus product or brand plus service, because then again, it's still brand. I mean, you don't have to, you can go with just a straight keyword if you're linking to inner pages as well. But I'm saying like, if you're just specifically like on the ID page, guys, if you're linking to like the name, address, phone number, and the URL that's associated with that NAP, right? So the name, address, phone number, and website URL. lot of the times it's going to be the homepage URL, but sometimes it might be an inner page URL, right? For multi-location business. All I'm trying to say is for those, just go with the brand anchor. But if you're going to be linking to like product and service pages from the ID page as well, which I don't really think is necessary, but you can do it, then I would go ahead and just link with whatever the primary product or service name is for each page. You can do that. That's fine. What I'm saying is there's no need to link to the same URL multiple times with different anchor text. It's really kind of ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. Just go link. You should only link to the same URL from the same referring page one time. Really. You can link to it multiple times. It's not going to hurt anything, but there's really no need for that. There's no added benefit to do so, is what I'm saying. So you only need one link to the homepage URL. And then if you want to link to inner pages, you can as well. And if linking to the homepage URL, again, I recommend, especially from the ID page, just going with a brand anchor. Inner pages, that's fine. If you want to link with the anchor text of the product or service for each page, the primary product or service for each page, then that's fine. Okay. Remember, it's a link coming from a branded asset. So you have a little bit more leeway with those. Kurt says, what's the best tier 2 platform in your opinion that can be powered up with links that itself links to the money site? Well, right now I'm seeing strikingly blogs are ranking well for brand searches, at least in the tree service industry. So that's one of the ones that are actually working really well right now. I've talked about Blogger, but and I think the most recent algorithm update that occurred in March killed that, because I've seen all the bloggers that for about a year, maybe a year and a half, I've been ranking bloggers fairly easily with just, you could use bulk spam, but just hitting them with some good links. And it seems like all the posts that I had ranked, and I just started looking, I was looking into this for my mastermind members, and I noticed most of them are not ranking now. So I think all of that occurred just in the last 3 weeks or so since the last update, big update that Google did. And I think that was March 15th or something, sometime in March. So I think that had an effect on the bloggers ranking. Patch.com classified announcement posts, those will still rank. They definitely perform better if you can find a patch neighborhood or whatever they call it. If you have a local patch that is associated with the location that you're trying to push, because they're not everywhere, is what I'm saying. So it's if patch has a neighborhood or whatever, I don't know what they call it, but a local patch for your business that you're trying to promote, then those work great. It doesn't work nearly as well if you have to go to further out to try to find a nearby city, because patch doesn't exist in the city that you're trying to promote it. You can still do that, but it doesn't work as well. Weebly, Blogger, well, not so much Blogger right now. G-sites still. G-sites are hit or miss. Like, I don't know why. Sometimes they'll rank well, sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll rank with no backlinks. Sometimes they won't rank when you hit them with hundreds of backlinks or thousands of backlinks. So it's kind of up in the air with G-sites. But man, when they rank well. So I like to do G-sites too, right? So again, I go through the ones that I like the best are Weebly, Strikingly, Patch.com, G-sites, Medium will rank well as well. Those are pretty much my favorites right now. Okay. Also, I've talked about this before, but batch geo maps, those will rank. There's not a lot you could do with them, but those will rank for brand searches fairly easily. And if done right, if optimized properly, you can rank those for keyword searches too, but they don't convert very well. So that's the issue with those. Moving on. Brian says, is there a way to every couple of months automatically change the publish date for our blog post to help with the freshness? Yes. Republish old posts. Just go to Google, man. Republish old posts. WordPress. Right there. And there's more than just one, but there's this one here, republish old posts, and there's a pro version of it, which it was like $9. I don't know if it still is now, but the pro version gives you a lot more functionality, a lot more options for scheduling and refreshing posts and things like that. But it's republish old posts. There's some other ones too. Revive old content. That's probably another one. So yeah, just go there's more than just one. I know I've used this one and I've used the pro version in the past, but there's more than just one. So just look, another one from Common Ninja. So there's a bunch of them out there. Just go do a quick search, republish old posts, WordPress, boom. You go through it again. Go through and find one that you like, that has the options that you want, and you're good to go. Ed says, hey, do you guys know of any good apps we can use to embed a report on our website for lead gen where people could put their website address and get a basic overview? Yes, just about every one of the auditing tools out there do that. Bright Local has that. SEMrush has that. SEMrush is expensive. Agency toolkit or some shit you need, which is expensive. But Bright Local has the audit reports and an embeddable widget. In fact, let's see, where the fuck do I have that? I've got an example I could show you. Just trying to think of where it is. And damn it, I don't have time for, well, yeah, I do. Give me 1 second. I'll find it. I want to show this to you guys. But there's also, what's his name? David Sprague has one that's called Local Analyzer. That's great because it looks good. Now, for us that are in the SEO industry, guys, we know that that's not like, there's better auditing options out there than David Sprague's Local Analyzer report. But to non-SEOs, they look really good, right? So, and it's about capturing the lead. It's not about what the report actually says. It's about capturing the lead, right? Anyway, I'm going to jump into this real quick so I can show you. You guys are not seeing my screen, I hope, because I'm like deep into.
No, we just got the spreadsheet in your desktop.
Good. Here we go. This is it. Let's see if it's still working. Come on, motherfucker. There we go. Okay, sweet. So here's an example. This is a Bright Local report here. So this is an audit. This is Bright Local's embed code that's just embedded into a page on treecarehq.com on a subdomain. And this is it right here. So they can put their business name in and go through the process. And then it basically creates a Bright Local report, and it goes into Bright Local and says, hey, you've got a new agency lead. And then it gives you the data that they submitted. Boom, you can reach out to them and boom, and that's on Bright Local. Also Local Analyzer. This is what it looks like. This is the Local Analyzer landing pages that they give you for Local Analyzer. So I have one for TreeCareHQ, so you can see, and these are great. That's $297 for a year, per year, to use this. And these look great. I mean, they works really well. You can set this up to where when they submit their information to generate a free report, it sends you a text notification so that you can call them about 10 minutes later while they're in the middle of looking at the report and pitch them on your services. You know, this is great. It's $297 a year, and it has this landing page with the templates and everything. All you do is swap out your logo, and you can customize this if you want. I just leave it pretty much the way it is, and boom, there you go. $297 a year. Works like a charm. So good question. Okay, so Bright Local and Local Analyzer are two, but there are all kinds of them out there that will do that. Again, SEMrush, there's all, just go search website auditor. Again, guys, use Google. Website auditor tool or lead gen tool or something like that, right? And you'll find other ones. Like my website audit, generate more leads faster with beautiful. I've looked at this one before. So again, there's dozens of them out there, guys. Just go find one that you like and use it. David says, when building out your topical relevant rebuilds, how do you make them like actual sites that aren't just purely filled with content that you're selling links within? Well, the rebuilds are single page sites. So we're not just spamming them with links. The rebuilds are, long form articles about one particular topic, and it usually links out to just the client's asset and perhaps a Google Map embed, and that's it. And so we're not spamming those, if that's what you mean. Then for my blogs, the blogs are topic clustered sites built around one particular topic. So they pass full relevance at both the page level and the domain level, which is why they're so effective. And each post only has one outbound link or maybe two to the client's assets, depending on whether it's a tier 1 or tier 2 link. If it's a tier 1 link, we will do a link to their money site and a Google Map embed. And if they have a Google business website, we'll link and or embed to their embed to their Google business website if they so choose. And then sometimes we'll have some outbound links on there, like just to other content and things like that in the blog, the niche relevant blog posts. But again, we don't, it's each blog post is going to have one basically target asset that it's linking to. So hopefully that's clear. Jerry says, with your agency, how do you plan out your months? Do you go with fixed deliverables for your client, or do you adjust the strategy each month? No, it's fixed deliverables. I used to do customized SEO plans, as probably most people do, but that is very difficult to scale, guys. Productized service agency. If you productize your services, you can scale. If you customize everything, it's very difficult to scale. So no, and I'm real adamant about that now. I've had a lot of offers for people recently reaching out and asking me to quote them for SEO services, and I tell them no. I run a white label SEO service now, which means everything that we do is productized, right? That's the only way you can run a white label SEO agency. You can't customize plans. That's a retail SEO agency. Remember, white label is wholesale, and wholesale, you have to productize stuff. You have to productize your services if you're doing wholesale, because the retail agencies, right, the ones that sell directly to the business owners that manage business, do SEO and marketing services for the end user, which would be business owners, they're the ones that go through all the customized and if they want. But again, it's very difficult to scale, in my opinion. I always found it very difficult to scale when I was doing customized plans for every project. So when I finally made the switch to a productized agency, that's when I was really able to start scaling. So I have set packages that I basically pitch and promote, and that's it. And then once somebody gets in, then I have add-ons, right? Doesn't mean we can't customize their plan somewhat, but they can customize their plan with predefined a la carte options or add-ons. Does that make sense? So again, everything is productized. We have our basic packages, right? Maybe a few different levels. And then we have add-ons, but even the add-ons are productized so that, again, it's scalable, right? We have the same deliverables for every client. Does that make sense? And that's how you're able to scale. If you try to customize everything, which I know a lot of people do, and that's fine if you're charging a lot of money, guys, that's fine. But the problem is when you customize all your SEO plans or campaigns for each client, think of how much time that takes. Just think of a customized SEO proposal. How long does it take you? It takes me, I mean, it can take me every bit of several hours to produce a customized SEO proposal. That sucks, man. Because think about, it depends. If you're always doing customized SEO proposals and your closing rate is 30%, 40, let's say you're fucking, you're a ninja, you're badass, right? And you close half of all your sales calls. Then if it takes you 2 hours, and that's kind of a conservative number, but because if you're properly doing a customized SEO proposal, it's likely going to take you several hours because you got to research the project, look at everything and come up with this plan. And I mean, I'm not kidding. I'd spend 4 or 5 hours on a customized proposal. And even if you're a badass and you close 50% of the pitches you make, if it takes you just 2 hours to do a proposal, that's 10 hours of work. You'd have to pitch 10 clients to close 5 at 2 hours per proposal. And that's a conservative number. That's 20 hours. I guess if you're going to close 5 clients out of it, then that might be worth it. I'm just saying, I don't like to do those because it's very, very, very slow and tedious. I did that for years, by the way, just so you guys know, I'm not above that. I just learned over the years how to streamline my business so that I could scale it. Right. So I recommend productized services. You can have multiple services, but all of those the deliverables should be consistent so that you can duplicate very easily, right? And again, think about it, guys. That goes back to what I was talking about earlier with SOPs. If you have specific deliverables and specific packages, you can build standard operating procedures for each one of those items or plans or packages or whatever. And so now you can duplicate that because you can scale. If you have SOPs, all you got to do is hire more people and plug them into your SOPs, and they can execute and fulfill the tasks just as you or anyone else on your team could. right? Because you have it's just like a fucking franchise, guys, right? Franchises have systems in place. They're repeatable systems. It's paint by numbers. You just follow the instructions. So the same thing with an SOP. If you have productized services, you can build SOPs for those, and then you can scale very quickly because you can easily duplicate and delegate. So anyway, that's once I finally got away from doing customized plans and proposals, I was able to really start growing my business, and it reduces your workload and gives you a lot of your sanity back. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. I would encourage you to look at productizing your stuff. Javier says, how did you hit your first 5K month profit when you got started in SEO with your agency? For me, seriously, when I started, Javier, I found initial success with local lead share groups like BNI. I didn't like BNI, by the way. They're like the soup Nazis of business networking. I hated BNI meetings. I freaking hated them. I went to them fairly often, but I didn't like them at all. But like Meetup, local lead share groups, things like that, go to meetup.com and find them. That was really effective for me when I first got started. And then I started doing video emails in 2014, about a year after, well, probably a year and a half after I'd started my agency, when I got most of my initial clients through lead share groups, business networking groups. So they were local clients, like literally local clients. But then once I kind of figured out how to do video emails, way back then, it was way different than it is now. Like back then it was a lot of work because you had to like create mock videos. And anyway, long story short, I started doing video emails. We've got training programs in our mastermind for that. And in video emails was how I spent I think 2014 is when I started doing video emails, and I was able to get success with those to where that became my primary prospecting method for several years, was just doing video emails. And that worked. It's time consuming, but it works. Now it worked better then than it does now, just so you know, because it was newer. Now it's more commonplace to get videos and emails. So it's still very effective. Don't get me wrong. But back then it was incredibly effective. I would get literally 35. For every 10 video emails I would send out, I would close 3 or 4 clients, hands down every time. It was like clockwork. So my closing rate was 35% on, that's exactly what it was. And again, it's lower now, but it still works. So business networking groups, video email can still work, and you can do that from your home. That's why I like those. Ryan says, I've seen tons of sites that look the same on random domains and link profiles that are just coupons and Alexa site lists. Yeah, that happens all the time. How do these sites even make money or get traffic? I don't know. I don't care. They're a nuisance though, aren't they? They're a freaking nuisance. I don't know how they make money or what their monetization strategy is. And I don't care. Anyway, they are in the hundreds. So the operation would be costing money with hosting renewals, etc. Curious to how this is a thing and whether there's any value there that people or agencies pay for. Not that again, I have no idea how they're monetizing those at all. And I don't care. It just pisses me off because you get all these spam links that are linked to, those domain directories and all that shit. And like, if any of you guys use SEMrush, SEMrush like throws you red alerts all the time about toxicity score. And a lot of it's from those stupid scraper sites. And we can't do anything about that. One thing we can do is copy the domains and submit them to the disavow tool. Tell Google, hey, ignore these links. But the thing is, because they're so commonplace, Google knows to just ignore them anyway. You know what I mean? Because they're common for almost every site out there, right? Meaning almost every site out there gets these spam links pointed at them. So it's not really all that important, to my opinion, to disavow them because Google kind of knows about them and just ignores them anyway. Okay. We're going to run out of time. Adam, if you got to go. I'm going to try to get through at least these pre-posted questions.
Sounds good.
Carl says, hey guys, just published a blog post for a semi-competitive money keyword, and after a few days of indexing and making syndication posts, it's top of page 2. Fantastic. What would you suggest in the way of link building to push it up from here without risking getting sandboxed and dropping way behind for a long time? Topical, relevant links certainly would help. especially if you can get some traffic through those links, or at least some traffic to the page where the link is. That does help. Certainly a click through from that link can help too. But yeah, some CTR stuff. I talked about this in an earlier question. You can do some CTR manipulation to also help push it a little bit. Again, for something like that, a lot of times I would just set up Google Ads campaigns, display ads campaigns, and set audience segments, or create my own, and also set geographic targeting if it's for local, if that matters, right? So you can do a combination of all of that. Carl, if you're looking for good topically relevant links, I know of a good provider I can point you to. That would be me. So you can go to Vetted, which, by the way, I forgot to mention that. God damn it. Vasco from Vetted, he gave us a coupon called it's semantic. You can go to Vetted with 3 T's. So VE, vetted as in like somebody's vetted, like the talent, the service providers on Vetted have been vetted. But it's 3 T's. So vetted.com. Go to vetted.com. And if you use the coupon code semantic, it's 5% off. Hey, that's better than, and it's not just for my services. That code will work for any service on Vetted, period. So, but yeah, if you want to check out, I've got niche relevant blog links that might help you. My guess is it would. So you might want to check that out and use the coupon code semantic. You get 5% off. That's just one example. But like I said, CTR stuff would probably work. Buying traffic from Google would probably work, would probably help. So there's a number of things you can do. Again, this is going back to what I was talking about with Search Console earlier, guys. If you go into Search Console, Carl, and you click, go to performance, and then you click on pages or URLs, I think it says pages, and then click on that URL, that specific blog post URL. Then so that now it's only showing the data for the impression data for that one URL, the blog post. And then you click on the search queries report, and it shows you all the keywords that URL has been given, or the search queries that keyword, or excuse me, that URL has been given impressions for. Now, though, export that list of query data, search query data, specific to that URL, right? So you export that list, and then you can clean it in the CSV file or Google Sheet or whatever. You can go through and clean out the non-relevant queries that triggered an impression. And what you're left with is a great list of search queries that are relevant, that people actually went to Google to search for, that your URL got an impression for, right? So those are relevant. So those are keyword anchor. Those are the search queries that you would use as keyword anchors in niche relevant blog links to link to that post. So that way you have anchor text diversity, but you're using the actual search queries that caused an impression for that URL. Do you understand? So guys, that's how you get the best kind of anchor text for your URLs, is use Search Console data. Extract the relevant search queries that triggered an impression and use that as anchor text to link to that page. Does that make sense? Ralph Peterson. I have a new client that I recently acquired. She was not keeping her WordPress site plugins updated, and her site was hacked and malware was installed into her site. The malware redirected her site to a spam page. It went unnoticed by her for several months. Unbelievable. Google completely de-indexed her website. She later noticed her site was compromised and removed the malware, but Google says that her site is still in the kitty litter sandbox. I took on this project. The first thing I did was move the site to a better hosting. However, I still cannot get the site re-indexed with Google search. So I'm clueless. What do I need to do to get her to get Google to re-index her website? Thanks. You guys rock. Have you reached out to Google support to find out about it? I know that there was, when you got a manual suspension, a manual penalty, and de-indexed, that you had to go through I haven't had to do that in years, but years ago, I had to, on several occasions, do a reinstatement request to have the URL re-indexed, re-included into the Google index. So I haven't done that in years, so I don't even know what the proper steps are to go through that process. I'd have to research it. I'm not sure. I would assume there still is a process for that. But do some Google searching and see what you can find out, like how to contact Google support, things like that. I don't know what else to tell you, Ralph, except change domains, right? Use the same domain, but with a different extension. Go with a .net or a .org. And you know what I'm saying? You can still redirect the old domain to the new one. And it might just be a domain issue. I've got an issue with that right now. I'm not kidding, guys. I told you at SEO, well, I've mentioned this at SEO at the beach. Ted Kubitis with Quora was there, and I tried Quora several years ago, but I thought it was overkill for local at the time. So I just didn't use it. I haven't even seen it for years. But I got reintroduced to Quora at SEO at the beach a month ago or 5 weeks ago or whatever. And he's developed it so much further, and there's a lot of stuff in there that for local stuff now too. And so I was like, fuck yeah. So I subscribed to it specifically because I have one site that I've spent over 3 months now literally trying to recover because it got hit with an algorithmic penalty of some sort in October of last year. And it's one of my tree service sites, multiple location tree service sites that has generated a ton of money for me over the years. And it just tanked in rankings. It's still indexed, but it just tanked. And I have spent months working on that site, and I've been unable to recover it. So finally, 2 weeks ago, I started taking location pages because it's a multi-location brand. And I started taking location pages from its existing domain and creating on a different extension, the same domain, but a different extension. I've got a .org now that I'm using. I started moving the location pages to single page. Well, I say single page, but they're WordPress installations on subdomains of the new domain. It's the same branded domain, but a .org extension. And I started, again, taking the location pages from the .net, which was the original money site, and moving them to standalone or single WordPress installations on subdomains, so city-specific subdomains. That makes sense. So I've got multiple WordPress installations now on subdomains of the new extension, the new TLD, which is a .org. And I'm not done yet. I'm still moving sites. I do it when time permits. And so I've still got a few. What's really interesting is I'm redirecting the .net URLs from what used to be interlocation pages to this. They're now, of course, they're corresponding subdomains on the .org domain. So nothing has changed. It's the same on page, the same backlinks, because I'm redirecting 301, redirecting the URL where the backlinks had been built to the new .org subdomain or subdomain on the .org domain. Does that make sense? And yet I'm already seeing all the locations that I've moved starting to recover and rapidly, as I just started doing this 2 weeks ago. And so that's what I'm saying. It's really interesting that just switching the domain, guys. I mean, I've got no notifications in Search Console about any kind of penalties. I've gone through technical audits trying to figure out if there's some sort of code or something that's causing it to not work, the site to perform poorly and everything else. I've done a number of things. Quora was really what identified it to me, because there's a lot of what they call the volatility report. The query, the site is in and out of the index. If you do 10 queries in a row, it only appears 50% of the time. So that's, again, showing significant issues with the site. I can't figure out what it is. I've spent, again, probably over, like I said, 3 months and probably literally over 60 hours of my own time trying to recover the site and couldn't get it recovered. So I bring all that up, Ralph, because I would think that if you just, sometimes you have to take drastic measures and change domains. So that's what I would suggest perhaps you do with this, right? Get a .net or a .org or something. Just clone the site or install it on the new domain and then set up redirects and see, it might come back. So, oh God, I don't have much time, guys. I gotta go. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to be able to get to everybody, but what I'll do is I will highlight these and pick back up next week on these guys. I'm sorry, but we're way over. So I'm going to go through one more and I'll highlight those so that I know next week to answer them. So this one's from Mateo. What's up, Mateo? This has got to be Mateo from GMB Crush. Hey, Bradley, it is said that Google's latest move indicates a growing emphasis on author pages and their weight in search results. Google has several patents on ways to find out who wrote something. Yeah, you guys remember Google Plus? Google Plus was like an authorship validation. Like literally, that's what it was, very much like that. I was sad to see Google Plus go. I was probably one of the only like 10 people in the world that used it, but I was sad to see it go. Anyway, Google has several patents on ways to find out who wrote something, like using biometric data, word sentences, and text profiles. I don't doubt that at all. While it's unclear exactly how these patents are being used in practice, it's clear that Google is increasingly focused on authorship and author identification. Yeah, and that's to combat spam. It makes sense. For local businesses, this means creating pages for local workers and key company persons can help establish them as a trusted authorities in their niche. I agree with that. Overall, creating author pages for local employees and key company personnel is a smart move for local businesses that want to establish themselves as trusted authorities in their niche and improve their chances of ranking in search results. Would you agree with the above statement and suggestion? I would. I mean, I would test it. I would want to test it, but I would agree that that is logical. It makes sense. It's a validation signal, right? When you are creating an author profile page and then linking any content to that author profile page, where that author profile page can validate the persona, right? Validate that profile, list real world data to their social media properties and things like that. All of that obviously makes it more real, more valid, less. Google can't consider it as spam if it was, an article that is has been attributed to an author. Somebody's taking credit for it, that is real and live on the web, and there's a paper trail, so to speak, right? A digital paper trail leading back to that author. In my opinion, yeah, it makes total sense. I've not tested with that. It's interesting. I could probably test with that with some of my lead gen assets, and I might even do that. So, okay, guys, digital leader. Oh, that's awesome. Google Plus. You guys remember that? I used to love Google Plus, man. You get authorship and publisher URLs, and you could. Oh man, I used to love Google Plus. I was so sad to see it when it went. I didn't think Google would ever get rid of it. Honestly, I didn't, because it was a validation, a way to fight spam, right? But it just never caught on. So. All right, guys, I got to go. Sorry about not getting all the questions answered. I'm 10 minutes over. I will answer the rest of these next week. And for those of you that were commenting, I appreciate that, guys. I'm sorry I didn't get to it. We just had an enormous amount of questions today. So it is what it is. I will see you guys next week. Thanks for being here.